Hey guys, Lancer here. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for joining me while we're looking at some weekly market movers for MTG and stocks. Let's get right to it. Now, the last 5 minutes of this is going to be the stock part. If you really want, I can just separate that out all by itself and then put it up as well. So you guys have got 3 videos today. Have fun. Curse of Vengeance from Commander 2016. Now, we already saw this jump up. There is a specific commander and card that likes curses in Innistrad Midnight Hunt. All the curses are doing extremely well, and this is a very good curse. If you have it, good for you. I don't think I have it. I have not checked, but I don't think I have it. I would have had no reasons to. So the reason why it's spiking is because a lot of people did not have any reasons to, and now it's obviously a very good reason to. Dragon Tempest from Promo Pack Kaldheim. Now, this is, I am just going to, okay, nope. Gia Reach Bandit, Shadows over Innistrad. So, another one of these cards that I'm probably going to have to unload because I have this card. It's a good card. I hate flipping cards in Commander, so I don't want them. 66 cents, not worth it to sell. $2.39 for $2.59, probably okay to start selling. So I'm going to look for these cards and see if I can unload them because, yeah, here's another one. Daybreak Ranger from Innistrad. I'm pretty sure I have a 4 off when it used to be like 20 cents for this card. Now it's moving up to $4.41. Good luck to anyone that likes to play Commander decks where they just take it out of the sleeves every time they play, or proxy cards and then don't look at the art. I personally cannot tolerate it. I think Throne of Eldraine did a good job of having 2 cards on the front face, and I would prefer it if they can kind of stick with that whenever they need to. Gabriel Angelfire from Legends. So this card is $28.75. It is not on the reserve list. There is a 45 cents version of it. It is moving up because it is specifically a Legends card. Now, I have some Legends cards. I have some Chronicles cards. Wherever I could find a Chronicle version, I normally would get those, except for the ones where they were super cheap for the Legends. And there wasn't many of them, but I did find a couple of them. I haven't gone and checked each one of those prices, but I'd expect them to be doing something very similar to this, which is just taking off to the moon because they are just an old card which has collectability. But if you wanted to play these cards, I'd probably be careful about buying into them because they're not reserve list cards. And I always say if you have $50 or whatever to spend, get a good reserve list card that seems to be more sensible than just buying any card that's just old. Cruel Reality from Amonkhet. This is a very small move for a card like this. It has taken off today, about a 30% gain, but overall it's just been moving very slowly. It's a curse, so there's no reason why it can't take off again, but it is probably one of the most expensive curses that someone can play, 7 mana for a curse. But, you know, the curse deck is doing well and it does make sense. Both of the pre-release and the Amonkhet version is moving up. Bolduvian Horde from Alliance. So this card had a bit of a spike, now flatlining or a sell-off and now moving up again. Not on the reserve list, plenty of other printings. Yeah, so Alliance card, not on the reserve list. Davi Gollum from Ice Age had a huge spike earlier in March 21 and now moving up again. It is a reserve list card, but the card itself does not feel very strong. It does not untap during untap sweat. At the beginning of the upkeep, you may untap target tapped creature an opponent controls. If you do, untap the Golem. 4 mana for a 5/3. It's not that good. Infernal Medusa had a huge spike up, but now slowly moving down to its average price. Not on the reserve list, but no other printing for it, which means there's a chance that it has some value. Sitting at $5.45 for TCG, but I think the market price of $13.87 is more accurate. Falling Star from Legends. So Legends card on the reserve list. Yeah. See, $145, 3 times the price of Gabrielle, but I think far more worth it for a card like this. It is banned in a lot of places, but it is actually collectible. Like, you're not going to be able to play Gabrielle either. And if you wanted to, you could play the 45 cents version of him. This card, even if it's not playable in any format, it is still very collectible. Darksteel Ingot from Secret Lair series. Now, I am interested to see what happened with this, because a lot of people bought this just because it was cheaper to buy the 4-pack than to individually buy some of these cards. But it's Darksteel Ingot, and you know, we've already talked about it. It's just not that good of a commander card. And the art is really weird. Yeah, really weird. But it's moving up now, and I would be surprised if none of these cards from the box of rocks or whatever Secret Lairs doesn't average up to about $5 each, because they kind of have to for it to be worthwhile for you to get that, which means that the average price should be about $5 each for the individual cards. Otherwise, supply and demand is not going to work. I mean, demand could be very low as well. But Mirari's Wake jumping off a cliff since June 16, 2021, but that's because it had a reprinting. I can see that it had a pickup again, but I would be very careful about this. You could buy maybe one if you needed it, but you don't want to catch a falling knife, and this card could drop all the way down to $5 easy. Right now it's saying it's sitting at $14.22, but with the $5 version out there from Modern Horizons 2, I see no reasons why this can't be a $5 card, and at $5 this is a great card. Now moving over to MTG Goldfish for the weekly changes. So weekly changes, you got Den of the Bugbear moving up by 16% to now sit at $5. Magda Brazen Outlaw gaining by 17% to sit at $3.13. Werewolf Pack Leader to gain by 13% to now sit at $3.69. And Maxwood Nexus gaining by 8% to now sit at $4.38. Everything else is quite minimal. You got a drop of 10% for Scourge of the Skyclaves, dropping down to $7.52. But once again, for standard, very minimal, even with Innistrad on the horizon. Arlen Cord moving up on the Pioneer side, 20% gain, sitting at $13.55. A huge pullback and a very slow gain. Not really a pullback, just a slow gain for this week. He had a massive week the previous couple of times anyways. Gaia Reach Bandit, and I don't know why, like all these werewolves should have jumped up ages ago. Gaia Reach Bandit moving up by $2, moving up by 106% and asset at $2.70. Rhythm of the Wild moving up by $24% and asset at $6.50. And Legion Loyalist moving up by 14% and asset at $5.76. Soul Scour Mage dropping down to $6, a drop of 12%. Nothing crazy. Weekly changes, all of the werewolves. Master of the Wild Hunt gaining by 57% and now sit at $20. Daybreak Ranger 161%. We just covered something similar to this in the MTG stocks. 161% and now sit at $4.85. Savage Beating gaining by 16% and now sit at $18.60. And Arcbound Overseer gaining by 52% is now sit at $6.29. You got some big drops in Sliver Legion, 14% drop. Fracturing Gust, a 30% drop. Stoneforge Mystic, a small 6% drop, but good to know. That's sitting at $65. Nature's Will, 11% drop. Wheel of Sun and Moon, 11% drop. And Blood Moon as 11% drop as well. Now, finishing off, I want to just talk about the stocks and Bitcoin and crypto. So if you hung around this point, then I will also have this as a separate video for people to ignore, because that's what's been happening. Focusing on what's happening in MTG stocks. Sorry, the stock market. The dollar had a spike up on Friday night. The VIX also had a spike on Friday as well. A large spike, now closing above 20. Now, this is actually very important. I am now scared for next week. Now, the reason is because the VIX and the dollar moving up is quite impressive. Another thing to know is the fact that the US 10-year yield jumped up by $3.23%. You got the UK and the US oil jumping up by 2% all by themselves, a double bottom right there, very strong. Copper jumping up by $3.45. Now, usually when copper moves up, that's a good sign. But if it's an inflation trade and everyone's scared of inflation, so they're moving to commodities, that's not a good sign, because that puts more pressure on all the prices of everything that we buy, and then gets captured in the CCP CCP, that's the Chinese Communist Party, CPI number for the inflation average for US and worldwide goods, which is far more important, because the Federal Reserve has two main mandates, like I said in the previous video. It has to keep prices stable and employment as close as possible to 100%. Lowering interest rates means that businesses can borrow and expand, but if that causes instability in the prices, then that's when you get a very bad fall down on the economy, and people start complaining, and all the mess that can happen out of that. So currently people are not complaining too much, mainly because they're stuck inside and no one knows what the value of everything is yet. Everyone thinks that what just happened is just kind of a once off, but if it happens for the next couple of months, people are not going to be happy. They don't want to see 12% increase in a year when their wages only went up by 1%. That's not how they can survive. So we're going to have to see what happens here. You can see that copper went up by a large amount. Gold dropped down below the 180, the daily moving average. Now I'm going to zoom in here. God, what have I done to my graph? I've really messed it up. Okay. Anyways, here's the most important thing. Gold closed the day below its trend line. Now, I did this before, and then I had a massive flush down. Now, this is a problem here when every one of these things is now above gold. Gold is not looking good. So I don't know what Peter Schiff is going to say. I've been listening to him for a while, but this is not looking good at all for gold. Huge flush down, no change in signal yet. If it maybe touches 172, might look promising. Another time to buy back in is 1728. A good time to buy back in, because if it might double bottom. But you had to get the confirmation of the double bottom. You got to catch it on the way back up. That's tricky with a flush down like this. Very aggressive. Also, I have really messed up my graph. Can I set this back to something nice? Nope, just broke it instead. Okay, moving on to a better graph. Tesla. So I said on Friday on my shorts video that Tesla looked weak. Now, the main reason I said Tesla looks weak is because I think Cathie Wood sold about $100 million of Tesla shares, which is a decent chunk of her exposure to Tesla. Now, she is the strange one, because a lot of people say they don't know what she's talking about. But I feel like her actions say that she knows what she's talking about, but her words are trying to not scare, but control the markets. So her actions show that she knows when to get out. She got out of the Chinese stock just before things took a really bad turn. She's now getting out of Tesla, I assume, before things get out of to take a bad turn again. In some ways, I don't know. But Michael Burry calls out people like Cathie Woods because they're like, how can you say these things? Obviously, they're overvalued and everything. But I think Cathie Woods is acting like someone that's actually far more sane than she kind of talks like, because she's always talking about divine, like the people like voices telling her to do stuff. There's videos of her being told to buy Tesla and things like that. So it makes her hard to read. But I feel like her getting out of Tesla because of a technical reason is actually perfectly fine. Now, this is a rising wedge breaking down. It's not breaking down painfully, but now that Cathie Woods is out, there might be a follow-through on this. And certainly it has a lot of pressure. Now you can see that is still gaining, but if that MACD crosses over right here, then there's a lot of things not working out for Tesla. Now I'm just looking for a red print, but I'm not going to do anything for this, mainly because Tesla is very unpredictable. No matter what Cathie would say, it could still bounce off very hard off the 200-day moving average, which is now sitting at 700 exactly. Very strong support. So I would not be surprised if it hits the 200-day moving average and shoots back up. But for now, Cathie Woods can save herself. How much? There's a bit of glare on my computer. She can save herself an 8% drop. Cool. That's not bad. When you're moving around $100 million, that's a decent amount of money, I think. 8%. Yeah, that's a decent amount. That's $8 million. That's like one house. Then you have Bitcoin, not looking good. I was actually hoping, I made a mistake actually. When this drop happened, I didn't keep a close eye on the 200. Now, it's always a good idea to zoom in, and you don't want to always have Heikenashe. I had Haikanashi. Now, Haikanashi is meant to be a average, like what the average looks like, but the Haikanashi doesn't give you what the closing looked like. Now, this is still unpredictable because it is hitting the edge of a Bollinger Band, which means that it's got a lot of support coming up. Underneath it, you can see that it's got support 44,000. 44,000 to 46,000. So there's plenty of support here. And it is right now sitting at the 200-day exactly. So it's hard to tell if it's going to break down. And if it does break down, that means that this momentum is now going to be very powerful and very long-lasting. You can see these lightening up. So I will admit that I put a small position in, like around about here-ish. 44,000, 45,000, maybe even to 46,000. So I might be down a bit, but at least ADA's done well. There are some other ones to keep an eye on as well. You can see the AUD and USD. Now, the Australian dollar had a bit of a bounce up for the last couple of days, but now it's coming back down since it's getting pressure from the top of the Bollinger Band. But it's got a lot of support underneath it, so there's a chance it can come back up. If it does, then it'll obviously mean that the US dollar is losing steam as well. So it's very unpredictable, and we'll have to see how it goes. But if the Federal Reserve starts to taper, 100% these markets are going to throw a bit of a tantrum. They might drop by 10-20% of their valuation because that is about as much the Federal Reserve supports this market in the first place. And then we'll see if the interest rates being so low will catch that market and kind of stabilize it for the rest of this year. I'm not expecting too many more gains this year, but then again, we already had 14% for the year. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one, and let me know in the comments below what you guys think. See ya.